Let's set up an AI email assistant without giving it permission to send anything yet. I am starting inside a fictional Northstar Cloud Support Assistant, opening channels, and choosing email. The dark label on screen explains the two choices. Create replies as drafts for a person to review, or send them directly after you have tested the workflow. We'll use drafts as a recommended starting point. That is usually the most useful setup for a new team because you get real-time savings while keeping the final send click with a human. Everything in this walkthrough is English, light mode, and fictional. No real mailbox, customer, or outgoing delivery is involved. First, enter the support mailbox and the sender name customers should recognize. When you leave the address field, WebChatAgent can detect many providers and fill the server details. Here, the controlled Northstar mail fixture supplies an IMAP host, port 993 SSL, and the mailbox address as the username. IMAP is the important connection in draft mode. It lets the assistant notice new messages, read earlier correspondence when you allow that, and save the generated reply into the mailbox's drafts folder. The password stays masked and is stored encrypted. In a real setup, use your provider's app password when available, never a shared personal password. Before saving anything, click Test Connection. The successful IMAP result proves that the server, encryption, username, and password work together. WebChatAgent also finds the inbox, drafts, and sent folders, which is worth checking because providers do not all use the same folder names. Notice that SMTP is deliberately skipped. SMTP sends email and draft mode does not need it. This is a useful safety boundary. The assistant can prepare an answer, but this configuration cannot deliver it automatically. If the test fails, verify the provider's IMAP access, app password requirement, host, port, and SSL setting before changing the AI instructions. Now choose Create Drafts under Reply Behavior. This is not a watered-down version of the email assistant. The assistant still reads the new message, retrieves approved knowledge, follows the configured tone, considers the previous thread, and writes a complete reply. The difference is simply where the workflow stops. Instead of sending, WebChatAgent files the answer in the mailbox as a draft. Your team can correct the detail, add account-specific information, change the recipient, or discard the reply before anyone receives it. I recommend running this way until the team has reviewed enough varied messages to trust both the knowledge base and the escalation rules. Next, decide how the draft should sound. Mirror the sender is a practical default. A formal first message receives a formal reply, while an established informal thread can remain informal. Include previous correspondence when follow-up context matters, but remember that old messages are read for context and are not treated as new requests. The extra instruction here is intentionally operational. Answer warmly and concisely. Check the approved refund policy and ask a person to review complaints, cancellations, legal requests, or uncertain answers. Keep changing business facts in the knowledge sources instead of burying them in this box. Finally, add the normal support signature so the draft is ready for a human, not a half-finished block of AI text. Before enabling the channel, confirm that you are authorized to connect this mailbox and that affected people have been informed where required. This checkbox is a configuration safeguard, not legal advice. Your purpose, legal basis, retention, access controls, provider choices, and privacy information still need to match the real deployment. Turn on channel enabled, save, and look for the active status. Activation begins with new mail after the connection is initialized. It should not suddenly answer an old backlog. Start with a low-risk shared inbox. Tell the support team where drafts will appear and agree on who reviews them and what must always be escalated. The recent activity table is your first operational check. This fictional refund question became a draft. While the newsletter was skipped, WebChatAgent also avoids common machine mail such as bounces, auto replies, and no reply senders, so the assistant does not create loops or waste quota answering messages that are not customer requests. Review this table every day during the pilot. Compare the original email, the draft, the knowledge source used, and the reason for anything skipped or escalated. A growing draft queue can mean the team needs clearer knowledge, narrower instructions, or an owner for review. An error is a mailbox problem to investigate, not a reason to silently switch on automatic sending. Here is the result in a controlled local mailbox fixture. Alex asks whether a Northstar Cloud Pro purchase from 14 days ago can still be refunded. The generated draft uses the approved 30 calendar day policy, avoids asking for passwords or full card details, and includes the support signature. The green border means draft, not sent. This is a human review moment. Check the recipient, subject, date, promises, sensitive data request, tone, and signature. If the request needs an account lookup, add only information your team is allowed to use, then send manually from the mailbox, edit the answer, or discard it. The assistant removed the repetitive writing work without taking the final decision away from support. Direct send is available later, but it is a real operational change. Selecting it opens this plain language confirmation because the assistant would send in your name without a person reviewing every reply. It also makes outgoing SMTP credentials mandatory. Do not enable it just because 10 easy emails looked good. Build a test set that includes unclear questions, complaints, cancellations, legal language, missing knowledge, attachments, forwarded threads, and attempts to obtain sensitive data. In direct mode, uncertain or human requested cases should still become drafts. For this tutorial, I leave the option unconfirmed and keep create drafts as the active setup. The safest rollout is gradual. Begin with drafts, measure how often people edit or reject them, fix weak knowledge, and define which message types are low risk. Only then consider direct send for a narrow, well-tested class. Keep complaints, cancellations, legal issues, explicit human requests, and answers without a trusted source in the draft queue. Use a dedicated support mailbox, least privilege credentials, app passwords where supported, a documented review owner, and regular activity checks. If the assistant ever makes a promise the source does not support, correct the evidence or rule and repeat the same test before expanding automation. That is how an AI email assistant becomes a reliable support workflow instead of an unattended autoresponder.